gonna be, it takes always a little bit. All right. Okay. Now we are recording, and so this can be then posted for all the other participants as a podcast for all the other participants, people from Vietnam. Okay, I'm also going to present, although I'm not particularly in love with PowerPoint, but I think this time it can worth to have um, a little help from slides. I'm not going to get too much time and too many slides. Think you can see now my presentation. I hope so, because if I see the presentation, I don't see the screen. So I'm going to talk about cultural diplomacy and intercultural relation here in Siena. This is a rather recent, in a way, experience in terms of teaching programs and teaching and learning experiences, but it's well connected to a long story. Let me check if I have someone to admit. Yes. Okay, there's someone who's coming. A long story I was saying of centrality of Siena within a context of intercultural relation. By the way, Siena is a sort of small but central university. This is the map of Italy, and Siena is not exactly, but rather central in the region of Tuscany, which is a central region in according to the Italian geographical and structure. And somehow, although as you may know, Italy represents the south of Europe on the Mediterranean Sea, in a way, mainly thanks to this connection between Rome, the capital of the classic Holy Empire in the old age, and the Nordic and the Northern European university connection. Thanks to its university, Siena was somehow representing the center of the intellectual life and academic life in Italy since the Middle Age, so roughly 8 centuries ago. So a small place, a small city campus in the middle of the European and Italian cultural system. Then there's something more I would like to address as a sort of, kick-off argument to explain why Siena, and the University of Siena in particular, has been a sort of catalyst for intercultural relations. This because Siena used to be a proud city, free city, republican city, and to be a proud republican city, you need to be open. You need to look for openness. This inscription is what you see in one of the most important historical gates of the city of Siena, the gate which is looking to the northern side, where Florence, another important city of Tuscany, is located, and Siena and Florence used to be connected and then divided by the important rivalry. And basically, this inscription is to some extent a very provocative inscription for the Florentine people, which let's say represent somehow the historical antagonist of the Siena Republic, but at the same time, it's representing the willing of Siena people to be open to the rest of the world. Cor magis tibi Siena pandit can be roughly translated as Siena opens its heart to you wider than this gate. Sort of commitment to know the culture outside, and this is from the Middle Age tradition up to now. Siena has been considered an open city, open to the foreigner, open to the uh, to the other Italians, because we are also attracting a number of known native, known people, known original from other regions in Italy. So that's very much at the core of the traditional view of the University of Siena. And then, of course, we try, and this is more modern approach, what we could talk a sort of a local and territorial branding. The beauties of the Tuscany landscape and the beauty of the Tuscan territory as a sort of catalyst for keeping in Siena, in the town of Siena, in the University of Siena, a number of people representing many cultures. And this is what we did in the last basically 20 years, 30 years with the Erasmus. Siena represents right now the university city with the higher with the highest percentage of incoming students from the rest of Europe, thanks to the you know that we have a scheme within the European Union called Erasmus since 30 years, which is guaranteeing um, continuous installment of resources for mobility of students. And then we slowly start overseas scheme of mobility, including a number of people from everywhere, from all the corners of the planet. So Siena has, even now under the pandemic, hundreds of international students. Siena is an international city, although a small one. And Siena has also a little number of Vietnamese students in its recent experience. So we attract, even thanks to a number of degrees offered in English, we attract a certain number of international students. Of course, you can attract students, and being a modern campus, a modern university in the middle of nowhere, this is a model which is rather evident in many and successful in many European realities. Siena does not follow this. Siena wants to integrate international students in what is and what used to be Siena for the last hundreds of its history. That means its town. Siena, it's basically a town and a campus at the same time. It's true that biotech, medical laboratories, the whole hospital system is a little bit out of the cities, for instance, in this area, because we need to develop a proper departments and labs for those activities requiring spaces and let's say a room of maneuver for all the scientific members of the community. But the basic idea is to keep all of them rather close to the city campus, where you will find in a number of different buildings here and there, economics, law, social science, cultural heritage, and so on. So the idea is to keep going with this prototype of a social capital community based on its art. The students, they have to leave the city somehow, and they have to leave cultural heritage and civicness of the city. Guys and girls who are coming to Siena, they are somehow requested to become Sienese and to be connected to this tradition, which is also a peculiar tradition, even to be an Italian city with a strong sense of local identity. When we have an important fest two times per year with an important popular let's say celebration with this horse races, Il Palio, which is famous all around the world. People have to be part of it. and that's why Siena is so at the same time open to the world and proud of its strong identity. And this again has to do with the idea of related cultures. Uh, in a way, I mean, what you're living in Siena as a personal experience is per se an experience of intercultural life. And Siena is able to give the city back. Siena is able to give the city something which is from its knowledge, but is for the city. This picture is an important exhibition that we organized just a couple of years before the pandemic to celebrate one of the most important painter of Middle Age in Tuscany and in Italy and in Europe, Ambrogio Lorenzetti. And this exhibition was entirely organized by the city. This is a famous pala from Ambrogio Lorenzetti, which was restored and applied again in its natural environment after a study from one of our professors, or better, from a team coordinated by one of our professors of history of art. This idea that the university works with the city and the city works with the university, it's still a strong and very much shared idea, which has to do once again with the spirit of interculturalism within Siena. We want to give all the people, including one-day tourist visitors, exactly the same idea of a community of free students and scholars who work together with the city institution and the city community. Then of course, I try to close with a second short part of presentation with some information about the degrees we are and the activities we do in this. The story is, as I said, rather short because we had a, let's say, a relatively recent engagement in English based English offer degrees. Let's say last 10 years were, roughly speaking, dedicated to this process of internationalization. And within this historical context, that we deserve some attention for public and cultural diplomacy, which was the master program we founded. I was among the founders of this program roughly 6 years ago, and I was the first chair of the faculty. Then I left to some colleague because I took another responsibility in the university community. And the idea was to put together some of our personal involvement as academics in different practices, electoral events. I'm a political scientist, for instance, and I was engaged with the international electoral observer plans, democratic enforcement, peacekeeping, human rights, local conflicts, experience of direct democracy. Some of us were studying participation, representation, and so on and so forth. But then we wanted to bring this experience together with other experiences from humanities, for instance, archaeologists who are studying how it's possible to design archaeology programs with people from other culture. And this happens very, very often in the Mediterranean area, but nowadays even in Asia. We have archaeologists working in China. We have archaeologists working together with the international enterprises in Iraqi, for instance, or maybe somewhere else in the Mediterranean East area. We wanted to put together these different experiences to start, and I started actually 10 years ago with a one-year program in global governance, cultural diplomacy, And there was another master in genocide and human rights and studies. And this, our first laurea magistrale, our first semester, was somehow the connection of these different experiences. And then 4 years ago, we finally arrived to the launch, or better, to the first graduation of the 2-year master in public and cultural diplomacy, which is now our current program in the field. There was someone who's entering. Sorry, that's okay. This was then bringing us to define a more strategic design for cultural diplomacy, and this is also connected to another important aspect of our history, the fact that Siena is connected to Europe because it's one of the typical stop of the Via Francigena, the Pilgrim's Road connecting Spain to Rome, passing through most of the European Western countries, which used to be part of the Holy Roman Christian Empire, and this was another reason to link university with other universities. Siena is part of the Coimbra group of ancient European university, which is a sort of club of old historical universities in Europe. And of course, our connection is very much leaning on projects in terms of European cultures. We are part of this network on conflict resolution. We also have a vocational master in conflict management and humanitarian action. We are part of many networks on Mediterranean studies. These are not only humanities and social sciences, but above all, I would say, networks in the field of hard sciences and environmental sciences. I'm not talking about that because we had already presentation on these issues, but Mediterranean studies are particularly important for us right now. And then, and this was the last in chronological order of our commitments, the importance of cultural diplomacy within the context of the United Nations Sustainable Goals. Siena is the venue of the Mediterranean Association for Sustainability Goals. And even in our master, we offer a course on sustainable policies for the future world commitment. University environment is per se, as I said, a sort of big laboratory for cultural diplomacy experiences, and we do run. We want to practically approach within our classes the idea of cultural relations. So we are using soft powers. We are doing classes opening our floor to international students. We are looking for interdisciplinarity in different fields. In the case of public and cultural diplomacy master, we have 4 big, let's say, larger disciplinary issues: empirical social science, which means basically political and social scientists; humanities, archaeologists; law, particularly humanitarian law, international law; and linguistic and cognitive skills, because we want to have multilingual and multicultural approach from each of our students. They can pick different languages, from Chinese to Arabic, and of course the European languages, using English as a lingua franca. But life in Siena is mainly a life of civic engagement and cultural diplomacy. So we are asking our students to practice, let's say, cultural relations, not just in class, but every moment of their life, because they have to be socialized to this small but international environment. And this means also a particular cure for respect, recognition of cultural diversity and cultural heritage, a global intercultural dialogue, and justice, equality, and interdependence, and protection of international human rights. These are things that are very much recurrent in our syllabi and in our approach to training from one class to another. More recently, we did that, but this is also, as I said, part of another master, vocational master on conflict management and humanitarian action. And so we pay attention to global peace. We have partnership with ONGs, international non-governmental organization, working in the field of peacekeeping and social sustainability. This is our, let's say, current logo and our current brochure. You will find the brochure in the web page of our event with Vietnam, and you also have all our contacts if you want to know more about public and cultural diplomacy. Just to conclude, we want to ask our students to be proactive. All the activities designed to generate entrepreneurial spirit and maximizing impact in terms of interpersonal, intercultural exchange, and even the organization of the work, the assignments, and everything are designed and considered as interdisciplinary experience. We have the idea of case studies, and each student has to pick and to choose a number of case studies to be the protagonist of his or her work project. So they may be expert in, I don't know, archaeology in China, or peacekeeping in Venezuela, or new agricultural policies in Southeast Asia, but they have to be protagonists of their own project. This is the plan, the study plan. I want to go into this because, of course, I will be happy to respond to you if you have questions on this. And in any case, the study plan and the brochure is online. Let me also add that we have recently started two important agreements as a double degree. We are connected with a Polish important university from Poland, Krakow Jagiellonian University, one of the most reputed and the ancient university, the most ancient university in Poland, and we have a double degree with them, and particularly in the context of international security and development program, which is twinned with our public and cultural democracy. And then we are also connected to one Palestinian university, University of Hebron, and we have a double degree with them as well. We are working to new double degree project, and of course we are also interested to have a connection to Vietnam as well. Thank you very much for your attention. I think this is more than enough to present public and cultural diplomacy. Now, I don't have too much time because I can